Hey everybody. Today we're gonna drink a really old tea for Yunnan Sourcing, the 2009 Ai Lao Jue Se, which we produced from 2009 spring material from Ai Lao Shan, which is in Jingdong County, which is northern Simao. Very high altitude tea, over 2,000 meters. Ai Lao and Wu Liang have some of the highest tea producing areas in Yunnan and actually in the world. But yeah, this tea has been aging in Kunming and Oregon and Texas, so but it's still very much a dry age tea, much like the one that we offer from our Kunming warehouse. This tea probably is getting fairly close to being sold out. But before we do that, I wanted to show everybody how awesome I am at playing the Pu-erh guitar. Anyways, yeah, let's get to it. We were listening to a customer who has sent us, it was either audio or video of them. I only heard the audio of them just like totally shredding on the guitar. We had an Instagram thing where we asked people to share like their talents with us, and yeah, somebody was like totally shredding on the guitar, and I was like, that sounds awesome. I'm like, and then I started doing this, and I had the pu'er in my lap, and I was like, oh, pu'er guitar. Anyways. Yeah, if you laughed at that. Anyways, let's get started on this. Got about 7 grams here in the teapot. The tea's been stored in this box, so I would expect, anytime when a tea's been stored by itself in a box, I would expect that the actual cakes coming from whole tongs. Hey Lucy, come here. Hi, come here. Oh, no. She's not going to give me face, as it were. She just came in from the outside. She likes to scratch at the door, and even though she has her own dog door on the other side of the house, she doesn't like to use it as much because she likes scratching the door and then having us go and open the door and that whole thing. She obviously really seems to enjoy that. Of course, we've reinforced that behavior by actually opening the door for her. So yeah, we're going to have to paint the door if we ever sell the house. All right. Get this going. The thing about Ai Lao tea, especially with a little bit of age, and it's really incredibly sweet, tea. And the aroma has kind of almost an orchid-like aroma, but just sweet and kind of a really like nice, subtle perfume smell. Actually, it's quite thick. I'm gonna do a high pour here and try to cool the tea down a little bit and get some oxygen. Get a little bubbles and oxygen. I'm not using a strainer. Let it settle just a little bit. There's not too much. There's a few bits here and there, but nothing, actually very little, like burnt bits, which is kind of less advantageous. I'm serving tea to two people here who will go unnamed. One of them might be my wife over there, who doesn't want to be in the video. Come on, get over here. Come on. Wow, I'm just striking out left and right today. Lucy won't come and see me. My own wife won't drink tea with me. Gosh. Anyways, let's back to the tea. This is all about tea. Interesting. This tea actually still has a fair amount of bitterness to it. Strong. I've also brewed it pretty strong as well, but real thick. I'm gonna toss this back in there. There's almost like a nuttiness kind of taste, almost like a chestnut nuttiness. There's a real floral, kind of more like as if you brewed flowers, somewhat, not so much as a nectar. The smell has a real nectar, kind of orchid aroma, but it actually kind of tastes like you're drinking flowers with this tea. It's very floral. Let's keep going here. Well, I guess it's just gonna be one of those days, huh? You can see the tea soup. So we're looking at a 9-year-old tea here. And again, I think I stored a lot of the teas in these boxes here, just to keep them organized so I can actually stack them. But I don't always think that that's necessarily the best way. When you have, 1,000 different unique pu'er cakes in your tea library, you really look for storage solutions that are going to work. Optimum would be, I think, building clay jars, having big clay jars, and having maybe, the raw ones from 1 year in one, and the ripe ones, together there. That would be ideal. But then the wrappers would get all torn up and there would be a bunch of tea falling everywhere. So maybe we could put them in envelopes. We're thinking of a solution where we could have a library, have our current library of teas, but have them, kind of more intermingled. Wow, real strong mouthfeel on this one. Real nice sweetness. You can tell that this tea is kind of 9 years dry aging. It's kind of like right on the cusp of becoming kind of like what I would consider to be a semi-aged tea or aged tea, however you want to look at it. It's kind of really a relative term. But it's right on the cusp of that. It still has a lot of power and it has bitterness and astringency for sure. But it's also incredibly sweet. And then it has that kind of like dried fruit sweetness, spiciness that the aged teas tend to take on, especially in the early stage. It still has a very strong floral aspect to it. The thing that I really like about this tea is how much body it has as well. It's very thick and viscous. It has a lot of body. It has a lot of complexity and a lot of flavor. And it kind of goes back to, there's a lot of kind of debate, as it were, among certain people. I typically don't debate it because I know how I feel, and I have experience. People feel like, oh, northern Yunnan pu'er is like pu'er from like northern Linsang, or even Dali prefecture, or northern Simao, even Jingdong teas are considered northern, northern as compared to Sichuan Banna, of course, or Jingmai, or Yiwu. Yiwu is in Sichuan Banna, but anyways, some people say that northern pu'ers don't age as well, and I don't buy into that at all. Again, that's just obviously like a bias when you say they don't age as well. So what is well? That's, kind of the first, problem with the assertion that teas from Sichuan Banna somehow they age better than ones from Linsang or Simao. They age differently, and because they're different teas. But I think that particularly this Ai Lao tea is a good indicator, I think, for people who want to try a tea that's high altitude. It's actually not purely Assamica. It's northern Yunnan, not northern Yunnan, but it's a northern pu'er. And get an idea and say, hey, wow, do you like this? Yeah, you may like it or you may not like it. You may prefer Monghai tea or Iwu tea or Jingmai tea, and that's totally fine. But I think for people to dismiss teas from these areas, I think that's kind of, it's not productive, and it's also just biased too. Very full-bodied again. This tea gives a very stable output. It's interesting because if you look at the leaves and whatnot, none of them are particularly big. I think it's a 2-leaf to 1 bud pluck, so there is a fair amount of tips. But again, going back to tea growing at these altitudes in Ai Lao and Wu Liang is almost never purely like large leaf Assamica. It's typically zhong xiao ye zhong. And I think that I don't know if it's been, if they've been hybridized or if they've just if that's happened naturally as an adaptation to the environment, which is what I think it is. My understanding is that adapting to that colder environment. This tea has what I call nuo gan, which is like this kind of sticky, nuo like nuo mi fan, or like sticky rice. It has that. It doesn't taste like sticky rice, but it has that nuo gan, which is that feeling of kind of like being sticky. And it's very much a tea that you experience in the mouth. And of course, there's chachi as well. You, depending on how much you drink, how fast you drink it, and how much tea you've had before that, you may feel something. This is my first tea of the day, so I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling it right here. It's very pleasant. In the mouth, sticky, viscous, long lasting. After I've drank it, I'm tasting it. This is a potent tea, actually, quite potent. Especially at 9 years of age, that it has that potency. And again, some people would want a tea that would feel more aged at 9 years, but it is what it is. As you can see, the tea soup is not dark. It's a nice golden color. It's definitely like a darker, kind of yellow golden color than a new tea would be, for certain. We did also do a video on this year of an Ai Lao tea that we made, which the video should already be out by the time you see this one. The Ai Lao Mi Jing, which is a tea that we are in the process of pressing at the moment. And that's an old tree tea, at least a couple 100 years old or older tea trees growing in Mi Jing. That's probably the highest quality Ai Lao I've ever had. This one is excellent. I think this likely from, just natural wild growing tea, perhaps not gushu or anything like that, but excellent nonetheless. The creaminess in the early steeps is kind of faded a little bit. Now I'm getting just like overall kind of like a sweetness and less oily kind of creaminess. Bitterness and astringency is still there, quite solid. Strong mouthfeel. I'm really starting to feel the chachi. It's coming on fairly strong. Keep going here. We don't want this video to stretch on and on and on. I think the main thing though is just to talk a little about, like I said, to recap, which is try teas from Wu Liang, Ai Lao, Bandong, which is more farther north, in Linzang, not very far north, but Wangku, Jinggu as well, and really get to know them and compare with some Monghai teas and compare price too, because I think you typically, unless you have your own gold mine, you are probably price sensitive at some point. So you may find that price is also a factor too. But I just enjoy the teas like from Wu Liang and Ai Lao. We're also going to make a Wu Liang tea as well this year, 2018, which is going to be really nice. And it'll be affordable too, which I think, we can't discount that. We can't discount the importance of having a tea that is actually affordable and will age well. So nice sweetness. I get water in there. Yeah, I did. The thing that I like about this tea is really the mouth feeling, and that you get the shenjing, you get the mouth watering on the sides of the tongue, and you get a nice kind of like syrup, not like a syrupy, but like kind of like a coating, here in the mouth and the throat. That's very pleasant and soft, lubricating. It's not a harsh tea, unless you consider a little upfront bitterness and astringency harsh, but it really transforms into something sweet and kind of vibrating, kind of vibrates the mouth. It's very stimulating in a pleasant way, and lubricating, so you feel that. Chinese we say run, which is that lubricating kind of feeling. And actually that's funny because this tea hui run is that's run, that's the run character right there, and hui is like returning. So this is like returning it's returning lubrication. Yeah, that sounds pretty weird, but it's like that return. It's like that feeling. You drink the tea, and then after you drink the tea, you get that kind of like smooth, like slippery, lubricating feeling in your mouth and in your throat, and that's what talks here Hui Ren. But really, a lot of teas have that, not just Hui Ren, but also this Ai Lao that we're drinking as well. Sheng and Shou both have that. Oolongs have that. Black tea can have that as well. It tends to be a feature of teas that I think that have more internal stuff in them, that's coming out, oils and other stuff, tannins, and it tends to that's why we tend to be able to experience the tea even though we're not drinking it, because it's interacting with us and we're experiencing it. And the more complex the teas are, the more likely that they are to have those properties. They're more likely to just have more oils and more tannins and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little explanation of run and some of these other mouth feeling, things like that. I'm not gonna go too much longer. We're trying to keep the video short. We're gonna shoot another video today as well, so we got to keep it fairly short, but I do want to give this tea a chance to give us at least a little bit of an indicator that it's kind of peaking, as it were. The bitterness astringency has faded just a little bit, and I'm getting a little bit more of that kind of aged, spicy, fruity taste as well now. And that's really pleasant. That kind of gives you a little bit of an indicator where the tea is going. Of course, as it ages, it will be up front in the early steeps. It'll have that complexity. that we had with the bitterness and stringency, which will be more towards that kind of spicy, full-bodied kind of feeling. I don't know. Aged taste is really hard to describe. This doesn't have much, so I don't want to. But it's creeping in there with the age that it is. But yeah, I think we'll cut it. We'll finish off here. Definitely check out Ai Lao Jue Se if you're interested in teas from Wu Liang Ai Lao. I think it's worth at least picking up a sample if you're a fan of Xiang. If you like semi-aged Xiang, this is a good one. It's not highly aged just because of the dry storage, but it's quite a different animal from like a brand new tea from the same area. So anyways, check it out. Ai Lao Jue Se 2009 Yunnan Sourcing. And thanks for watching. Appreciate it.